Welcome to Module 7, Lesson 22, Debrief. Our first question asks, how does a line plot make it easier to read and compare data? So very simply, this is a quick view of a bunch of information. So instead of having to count all of the rectangles that have a perimeter of 14 centimeters, you can look right here in this column and you can say, okay, I know there's 5 rectangles that has a perimeter of 14 centimeters. Well, how many more rectangles have a perimeter of 14 centimeters than 16 centimeters? Instead of counting all of the rectangles, you can say, well, this column has 5, this column has 3, so this is 2 more rectangles are 14 centimeters than 16 centimeters. Well, how many total rectangles did you measure? You can count them all out, and it will tell you how many rectangles in total were measured. So this is just a quick view of a lot of information, and you can compare the data very easily if it's done properly. So our next question says, what are the important attributes of a line plot? Well, it needs to have a title to tell you what data you're representing. It needs to have a number line, a straight number line with evenly spaced gaps, with numbers telling us a certain size or quantity of something. Now this here will tell us what these numbers represent. So 14 what? 16 what? Here we know it's 16, the perimeter is 16 centimeters that's been measured. Now, what does each X represent? You have to have a key that tells you. These could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles. You don't know unless you read the key. So each of these X's represents one rectangle. Now, when you're drawing this, you've got to make sure you evenly space each of the columns. You've got to keep them in a straight line, because if you had 3 X's here about this size and 4 X's here that are smaller, you're going to think that there's more rectangles here when there's actually more rectangles here. Everything has to be evenly spaced and the same size. So you can quickly look at this document or at this chart and you can accurately compare the data and see the overall picture of what you're trying to display. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I'll see you tomorrow.